Hello, everyone. Tonight, we're stepping into the golden sands of ancient Egypt, where the air is hot and full of dust, and the smell of ink, leather, and grain lingers in every corner of daily life. Right now, imagine yourself walking along the Nile, watching boats bob gently against the shore, while priests chant in the distance and workers chip away at stone under the blazing sun. It feels calm from far away. But here's a reality check. If you were truly dropped into this world, chances are you wouldn't last a single week under the endless labor, heat, and demands of this civilization. Now turn off the lights, settle in, and sink into the soft space of boring history in the library reading by me, Vin. Let's drift together into tonight's journey. You are young, and the stone walls of the temple seem impossibly tall, painted with colors that shimmer faintly in the dim light of oil lamps. The air smells of old parchment, ink, and dust. And your master, a stern-eyed scribe, bends over a long sheet of papyrus. He does not look up when you enter. The scratching of his reed pen across the fibers of the sheet is the only sound. You take your place quietly, because here, silence is your duty. The life of a scribe's assistant is not glorious. You are not the one who composes prayers for the gods or decrees for the pharaoh. You are the one who fetches jars of black and red ink, who cuts fresh pens from reeds along the Nile, who smooths papyrus sheets with a careful hand so the master's writing will flow evenly. Still, you feel the power of what you touch. These words are not simple marks. They are the heartbeat of Egypt, keeping order in the chaos of life. When your master finally hands you a scroll, the weight of it feels heavier than papyrus should. It is not meant for your eyes, but you cannot resist glancing. The symbols are alive, sharp, and angular, each stroke pressed with confidence. Hieroglyphs march across the surface, telling stories of gods, kings, and rivers. You cannot read them all, but you recognize the falcon of Horus, the scarab, the ankh. They whisper meaning, though you are still a child of words, not yet their master. Your days are full of repetition. Dip the pen, hold it steady, draw the line. You copy the same character dozens of times until your fingers ache. Your master's gaze catches every flaw, every uneven stroke. Again, he says, and you begin once more. You are told that patience is the first virtue of a scribe, and precision is the second. The third, perhaps, is humility. The temple around you is never still. Priests move past with incense, their white linen robes brushing against the stone. Outside, chants echo faintly, and you sometimes hear the distant thrum of drums. The gods are everywhere here, painted on walls, carved into columns, hidden in the folds of papyrus scrolls you hold. And you, in your small role, are a servant of those gods. At night, when your tasks are done, you often linger. The lamps burn low, shadows long. You practice alone, writing your name, writing a prayer you half remember, writing the word for water again and again until it feels as natural as breathing. There is a quiet joy in it, even if no one praises you. Sometimes your master speaks of what a scribe becomes. Not just a writer, but a keeper of truth. A scribe can record taxes, judge disputes, and even preserve the names of kings so that they live forever. To write is to command memory itself, to hold power over time. You feel a thrill when he says this, as though the pen in your hand is a tool as mighty as a soldier's spear. But before you can claim such a destiny, there is endless labor. Ink stains your fingers, papyrus dust clings to your clothes, your back aches from bending over low tables. And yet, When you close your eyes, you see the symbols dancing, arranging themselves into stories. You begin to dream in pictures and words, as though the language itself has entered your blood. The days blur together, fetching ink, sharpening reeds, copying signs, but slowly you notice your hand grows steadier. The characters you write are no longer clumsy. They hold their shape. You can write a falcon that truly looks like it could take flight, a river line that seems to ripple with water. Your master begins to correct you less often, though he never says you are ready. His silence, perhaps, is its own form of praise. You are, after all, only the assistant, but in the hush of the temple, where ink flows like the Nile across papyrus fields, you know your place matters. Without you, the pens would not be cut, the ink would not be mixed, the scrolls would not be prepared. And perhaps someday, you will be more. For now, you serve the words, and the words serve Egypt. The sun has barely lifted when you are already seated cross-legged on the packed earth floor of a small workshop. Around you, scraps of leather and bundles of reed are scattered in careful disarray. The air is warm and thick with the smell of animal hide, softened by oil and smoke from a nearby hearth. This is the place of sandals, the quiet craft that carries Egypt on its feet. Your master sits opposite you, his knife flashing in the light as he trims a strip of leather. He does not speak much. His work is the teaching. You watch the way his hands bend and pull, how he threads the reeds into the sole, how his fingers shape what was once a rough hide into something supple and wearable. Then he passes the strip to you. It is your turn. At first, the material resists you. The reed slips from your grip. The leather stiffens when you try to bend it. You fumble, and your master's eyes narrow. "Patience," he mutters, though not unkindly. The leather listens when you do. You slow down, try again, let your fingers learn the rhythm. The reed curves more willingly this time. The leather softens as you rub oil into it. You realize that sandals are not built by force. They are persuaded into shape. The day stretches long. A boy runs in carrying orders. 10 pairs for workers hauling stones at the quarry, 2 for a priest who serves at the temple, a delicate set for the daughter of a wealthy trader. Each requires its own design. The quarry worker's sandals must be thick, reinforced with extra layers of reed. The priest's need to be neat, polished, worthy of the sacred floors. The trader's daughter demands beauty, her sandals decorated with dyed straps that will flash in the sun as she walks. You discover that sandals carry more than feet. They carry the story of who wears them. A farmer may own 1 pair that lasts through floods and harvests. A noble may have dozens, some never even touching the earth. In each stitch, you feel that difference. As you work, your mind wanders. You imagine the sandals you make walking through the bustling markets, past stalls of figs and fish. You picture them climbing the steps of temples, wading in shallow riverbanks, treading the sands of the desert. Though you may never leave this workshop, your work travels everywhere. The sound of cutting, weaving, and threading becomes steady, almost soothing. You begin to fall into its rhythm, the scrape of leather against stone, the tug of reeds pulled tight, the soft thud as soles are stacked. Your body aches, but your hands remember what to do. Slowly, a pair of sandals emerges in your lap, clumsy, uneven but whole. Your master takes them, runs his thumb along the straps, and sets them aside without a word. For him, silence is approval. Outside, the Nile glitters in the distance. Boats drift past, carrying grain, jars, and people whose feet may someday be held in your work. the thought fills you with quiet pride. Sandals may seem simple, but without them, the journey across Egypt's hot earth would be misery. You realize that even the smallest craft keeps the kingdom moving. Night comes, and the workshop smells of smoke and tanned hide. You tidy the scraps, stack the finished pairs, and place them by the door. Your fingers are sore, but your heart is lighter. Today, you have made something that will live beyond your hands, walking into the world where you may never go. And in that, there is dignity. The room is quiet, too quiet, save for the faint rustle of linen cloth. You stand in the embalmer's chamber, where stone walls hold back the heat of the day, and the scent of resin, natron, and incense fills the air. Shadows flicker from the lamps, stretching across jars and tools laid neatly on reed mats. Here, you are not just an assistant. You are an apprentice to one of the most secretive crafts in all of Egypt. The embalmer speaks little. His gestures are precise, his voice low, as if even the walls might carry secrets beyond. The body is a vessel, he reminds you, his hand steady as he unwraps another layer of linen. We do not preserve the flesh. We prepare the spirit's journey. You watch carefully, trying not to flinch at the stillness of the figure before you. Once a man of status, now silent, waiting to be carried into eternity. Your tasks are simple at first. You bring jars of oils, you grind natron into fine powder, you hand over bandages cut from long strips of linen. But even the simplest duty carries weight here. Every step is sacred, every tool touched with reverence. When you pour water scented with lotus over the body, you feel as though the gods themselves are watching. The process stretches over days. The natron dries the flesh, pulling away moisture until only what endures remains. You learn how to mix resins that harden into protective shells, how to weave linen snugly, but not too tight. The work is meticulous, rhythmic, almost meditative. You find yourself counting the layers, tracing the patterns of knots, listening to the faint crackle as oils soak into cloth. Sometimes you glimpse more than ritual. A gold amulet slips from a wrapping, its surface carved with symbols of protection. You return it without a word, sliding it between layers as your master instructs. These treasures are not for your eyes, yet you cannot help but feel the weight of their meaning. Each charm promises safe passage. Each scarab whispers of rebirth. The chamber grows hot, heavy with the scent of resin. Hours pass without measure. Your hands are stained with oil, your nails lined with dust from crushed natron. You do not complain. Here, discomfort is part of the devotion. Your master nods once when you handle the bandages without fumbling, his rare acknowledgement settling into you like a blessing. As night falls, the body is transformed. What was once fragile flesh now rests as something timeless, wrapped in layers that glow faintly in the lamplight. You step back, tired yet strangely calm. The embalmer's work is not for glory, nor for thanks. It is for the unseen journey, the crossing of the soul into the field of reeds. And you, in your quiet role, have helped open that path. You leave the chamber, the cool air of night brushing your skin. The stars shine over the Nile, endless and steady. For a moment, you feel as if you, too, have touched eternity. The air of the workshop is warm, sweet, and faintly sour. Rows of clay jars line the walls, their mouths sealed with mud caps. You can hear faint bubbling, the whisper of liquid alive within. This is the brewery, where you spend your days among grain, water, and the careful patience of fermentation. Your master greets you with a nod, already elbow-deep in a vat of soaked barley. The grains are soft and swollen, their husks peeling apart. He scoops a handful into your palms, and the damp weight surprises you. "Beer," he says simply, "is bread made liquid. Without it, Egypt cannot live." You understand quickly. Beer is not a luxury here. It is daily food, safer than water, fuel for farmers, soldiers, and children alike. The process begins with grinding. You bend over the stone quern, pushing barley against the rough surface until it breaks into meal. The sound is gritty, the rhythm steady. Your back aches, but soon the flour is ready. You mix it with water, shaping small loaves that bake lightly in clay ovens. The smell of warm bread fills the air, comforting and familiar. Yet these loaves are not for eating. They are the base of beer. You crumble them into vats of water, stirring until the mixture thickens into a cloudy brew. Wild yeast does the rest, working in silence as the hours pass. You skim foam from the surface. You stir with long paddles. You pour liquid into jars sealed with linen stoppers. The process is repetitive, yet you feel its quiet magic. From simple grain and water, something new is born. By midday, the workshop hums with activity. Workers arrive to collect jars for the quarry, where men chip stone under the sun. Women stop by for smaller jars, carrying them home to their families. Priests send a boy with orders for beer sweetened with dates, to be poured as offering at the temple. Each jar you touch carries weight, not just of clay, but of necessity. You taste a sip when your master allows it. The beer is thick, cloudy, almost like porridge, with a sour tang that lingers on your tongue. It is not fine wine for nobles, but it is filling, nourishing, enough to carry a laborer through long hours in the field. You feel its warmth spread through your chest, a comfort as old as Egypt itself. As the sun lowers, you seal the last jars with mud and reed cords. The air is sticky with malt and yeast, your clothes stained with flour. Yet you feel satisfied. This simple drink binds the kingdom together, from farmers in the Delta to masons at Giza. In every jar, there is sustenance, tradition, and life itself. When night falls, the brewery grows quiet. You sit among the jars, listening to the faint fizz of fermentation, like whispers rising from the clay. Tomorrow, more grain will be ground, more loaves baked, more jars filled. The work never ends, but you do not mind. For in the bubbling of the vats, you hear the heartbeat of Egypt. The morning light creeps across the Nile, glinting off a row of ivory tools laid neatly on a mat. Today, you are sent to learn with the scribe's assistants, those who carve the words of the kingdom not in ink, but into clay and wax. They call you to sit with them, and for a moment you marvel, not at the grandeur of palaces or temples, but at the strange and delicate art of making writing sticks from reeds and ivory. The master artisan holds up a thin ivory rod, its surface smooth as polished bone. "A scribe cannot write without his tools," he says, and presses the rod into your hand. It is surprisingly light, warm against your palm, as though it remembers the elephant it once belonged to. He shows you how to shave its tip to a fine point, careful not to split the grain. Each stroke of the blade must be steady, your breath calm, your hand gentle. A careless cut, and the ivory is ruined. Beside you, another apprentice sharpens reed pens, cutting the stalks at an angle, testing the tips against a clay shard smeared with soot and gum. The black marks flow easily, sharp and graceful. You realize then how fragile the written word is, not just in ink, but in the tools themselves. A broken tip, a dull blade, and the record of kings could falter. Your master teaches you to mix pigments, black from soot, red from ochre, green from ground malachite. He crushes each on a stone slab, his movements precise, as though coaxing memory from earth itself. You dip the ivory stylus into the colors, tracing symbols on a scrap of pottery. They look clumsy, uneven, yet alive. The older apprentices laugh softly, but the master only nods. Even kings began as boys who could not write straight lines, he murmurs. The day stretches on, filled with scraping, sharpening, grinding. Dust clings to your hair, fine as flour, yet the rhythm of the work calms you. In each tool lies the promise of permanence, records of harvest, contracts of marriage, prayers for the gods. Ivory and reed together hold the weight of eternity. At midday, a young scribe arrives, robes bright white, skin gleaming with oil. He inspects the tools laid before him, lifting each pen, testing its balance, dipping it into fresh pigment. He nods approval, slips the ivory stylus behind his ear, and departs without a word. The apprentices sigh with relief, as though they had just faced a judge. You understand then that while your work is quiet, it shapes the voice of Egypt itself. When the sun sinks low, you gather the ivory shavings and reed scraps, sweeping them into a basket. The scent of ochre lingers on your hands, earthy and sharp. As you leave, you glance back at the rows of styluses and pens laid ready for tomorrow. They are small things, easily overlooked, yet without them, no decree, no prayer, no tale would survive. Walking home, you think of the countless hands that will grip these tools, scratching words that outlast lives, dynasties, even empires. And you, though unseen, are part of that story. Your mornings begin before the sun has fully risen. The first light stretching lazily across the water, reflecting in soft golds and silvers that shimmer on the gentle waves. You step into the small, well-worn boat, its hull creaking in greeting, and feel the damp wood beneath your fingers. The air is cool, carrying the earthy scent of the river, mingled with the faint sweetness of water lilies floating lazily along the banks. You take up your nets, still heavy from the previous day's work, and lay them across the boat with care. The current moves steadily, carrying the boat with a gentle pull. Your hands are skilled and practiced, fingers knowing just where to coil the ropes, just how tightly to weave the net so it will catch fish without tearing. The river seems alive, whispering under your hull, sending little ripples that brush against your legs. Birds call from the reeds, wings flashing in the soft light, and occasionally you catch sight of a crocodile slipping silently beneath the surface, a reminder that life and danger walk the Nile together. You cast the first net, a precise motion you have repeated countless times. It arcs through the air, the cords glinting with moisture, and lands with a quiet splash. You hold your breath for a moment, watching the ripples settle. Then the current takes hold, and you begin the slow, steady work of drawing the net back in. Each pull is a rhythm, a meditation. You feel the weight of the river in your arms, the resistance of the water, the tiny tug of a fish caught in the mesh. Some mornings are generous. Nets bulge with tilapia, catfish, and the occasional silver carp. You laugh quietly to yourself as you lift them, their scales glinting like polished stones. Other days are leaner, the river teasing you with empty nets and silence. Yet even then, you find satisfaction in the quiet motion, the feel of the wood under your hands, the cool splash of water on your wrists. Every cast, every pull is a lesson in patience, in respect for the river's bounty. Your master, an older fisherman whose hands are worn and scarred, watches you with quiet approval. "The Nile gives," he murmurs, his voice low and steady, "but only to those who work with it, who listen to it, who understand it." You nod, even as your arms ache, knowing the truth of his words. The river is not merely a source of food. It is a teacher, a partner, and sometimes a taskmaster. By midday, the boat is heavy with the day's catch. You sort the fish carefully, separating the ones for market from those for your own table, wiping your hands on the rough cloth that has absorbed countless mornings of labor. You glance at the riverbanks, where children play and women gather reeds, and feel a quiet pride. The fish you have caught will feed families, sustain workmen, and honor the gods. Your labor, small though it may seem, moves through the lives of many. As the sun climbs high, turning the water into molten gold, you lean back and let the current drift the boat gently toward shore. The nets are washed, the ropes coiled, the boat tied securely. You step onto the sand, muscles tired but heart light. The river has given and taken in equal measure, and you are part of its endless cycle, a silent witness to its patience, its generosity, and its quiet majesty. The morning sun strikes the banks of the Nile with gold, and the air is filled with the hum of activity. You step onto a wooden boat, its hull tarred with pitch, its ropes creaking as it sways. The river smells of mud and reeds, and you feel the spray of cool water as oars dip in unison. Today, you are part of the river crews, men who ferry grain, stone, and even gods themselves across Egypt's lifeline. The foreman barks orders, his voice roughened by years of shouting over the wind. You grip a long oar, its handle smoothed by countless hands before yours. The motion is simple. Pull, push, lift, dip. But the repetition quickly seeps into your muscles. Soon, the rhythm of rowing matches the rhythm of your breath, steady as the river's current. As the boat glides downstream, you pass fishermen casting their nets, their bare feet slipping on the wet decks of tiny skiffs. Children wave from the reeds, and women wash linen at the edges, beating the cloth against stones. Beyond, tall papyrus thickets sway, their feathery crowns rustling like whispers. The Nile is not merely water. It is Egypt's heart, and you can feel its pulse beneath you. At midday, the foreman points to the far bank. A load of limestone blocks awaits, each one massive and gleaming in the sun. The crew groans softly, but no one refuses. You leap ashore, the ground hot under your sandals, and join the line. Ropes bite into your palms as you and the others heave the stones onto wooden sledges, then onto the boat itself. The vessel sinks low, rocking uneasily. "Balance it or we'll drown," the foreman warns. Sweat stings your eyes, but you adjust, lifting, shifting, steadying until the weight sits evenly. The return voyage is slower, the boat groaning with its burden. Every dip of the oar feels heavier, but the crew chants softly, words without meaning, just sound to keep time. The Nile stretches endlessly, a silver road under the sky. Somewhere, a heron rises, wings wide and silent. The scene is almost peaceful, but your back aches, your shoulders burn, and blisters swell where wood rubs flesh. As dusk falls, the boat docks at a construction site. The limestone will rise tomorrow into the bones of a temple or a tomb, its destination unknown to you. What you know is the ache in your arms, the salt crusting your skin, and the satisfaction of knowing the kingdom moves because you do. Without river crews, the pyramids would be bare sand, temples empty shells. You stand on the deck, watching the last light burn orange across the river. The foreman claps your back, rough but approving. "Row long enough," he says, "and the Nile itself will know your name." The stars begin to shimmer above, and the water reflects them like scattered jewels. The crew ties the boat for the night, their voices low as they share bread and beer. You lie back against a coil of rope, the day's labor humming through your body like a drumbeat. The Nile laps softly against the hull, a lullaby that seems eternal, as though it has always sung and always will. The scent of hay and the shuffle of hooves surround you as you step into the stables. Today, your place is among the charioteers, not as a warrior, but as one of the hands who keep the great horses sleek and steady. The stall is alive with sound, the snort of nostrils, the creak of harness leather, the clatter of hooves against stone. You feel a tremor in your chest as one of the bay horses shakes its mane, dust rising into the shafts of sunlight. Your task begins with brushing. The groom hands you a stiff, bristled tool, worn smooth at the grip. You run it along the horse's flank, each stroke pulling sweat and sand from its coat. The animal shifts under your touch, muscles rippling, the heat of its body warming your arms. There is something calming here, the steady rhythm of brush against hide, the steadying breath of the beast beside you. Then comes feeding. You carry a basket of barley mash mixed with chopped dates, sticky and sweet. The horses nuzzle eagerly, their lips velvet against your palms. One snorts, flecking your arms with foam, and you laugh softly though the stable master scolds you to mind your work. These are no ordinary animals. They are the kingdom's speed, its thunder in war, its pride in parades. As the sun climbs, you help fit the harnesses. Leather straps loop around broad chests, tightened carefully to avoid chafing. Bronze fittings glint as you fasten buckles, the metal cool against your fingers. The smell of oil and hide fills your nose. The chariot itself waits nearby, its wooden frame polished, wheels banded with copper. You are invited to step onto it, to feel the balance. The ground seems to sway beneath you, light and swift, even though the wheels are still. Later, the stable yard becomes a track. The horses are led out, gleaming in the sun, and the charioteer climbs aboard with practiced ease. You stand at the edge, rope in hand, ready to release. At the signal, the team surges forward, hooves drumming like thunder, dust exploding behind them. The chariot skims across the earth, graceful and terrifying all at once. Your heart leaps with each turn, each whip crack, each roar of speed. When the horses return, slick with sweat, your work resumes, cooling them, rubbing down their legs, laying damp cloths across their backs. Their sides heave, ribs rising like bellows, and you whisper softly, calming them, as though words might cool their fire. The bond between human and beast is delicate here, held by touch, voice, and endless care. The day ends with the stable settling into quiet. Horses chew slowly at hay, tails swishing lazily against flies. The charioteer nods to you, a rare acknowledgement. "They run because of us," he says, his voice low, almost tender. You realize he speaks not of reins or speed, but of the hands behind the scenes, the grooms who brush, feed, and soothe. Without them, glory falters. You linger a moment longer, the earthy smell of straw mixing with the fading light. The stables are warm, alive, a place where power sleeps until dawn. As you step outside, the night sky opens wide, and you carry the rhythm of hooves with you, echoing in your bones like a secret heartbeat. The market square greets you with a flood of sound and scent. Stalls line the dusty street, their awnings of woven reed flapping in the warm breeze. Traders call out with practiced voices, praising their wares, each more extravagant than the last. The air is thick with spices, sweat, and smoke from cooking fires. Here, your task is not to buy, but to tally, weigh, and record. The humble work of a scribe who ensures the kingdom's pulse of trade never falters. You are given a wooden tablet coated with dark wax, along with a reed stylus sharpened to a fine point. The overseer nods and points to the first stall, where baskets of barley glisten in the sun. The merchant is loud, eager to boast about the harvest. You kneel, scoop handfuls of grain, feel the weight, then pour them into a stone measure. Sand slips between the kernels, a trick you catch quickly. With a steady voice, you announce the true count, scratching numbers into the wax. The merchant grumbles but relents, for your mark carries authority. Next comes fish, hauled in fresh from the Nile, their silver scales flashing. The smell is sharp, almost overpowering, and your fingers are soon slick as you count them one by one. Children dart through the crowd, laughing, while their mothers bargain for baskets of dates, honey, and figs. Each transaction becomes your story to capture. So many jars of oil, so many rolls of linen, so many measures of salt. The stylus moves endlessly, cutting neat lines into wax, erasing, rewriting. By midday, the sun beats fiercely. Sweat drips into your eyes, but the flow of goods does not slow. Traders from Nubia arrive, their camels laden with ivory and incense. Others bring turquoise, ostrich feathers, and monkey skins. The market feels like the whole world condensed into one noisy square. Yet still, your role is quiet, precise, detached. Without your records, taxes fail, and without taxes, temples crumble. As the day wanes, your wax tablet grows dense with marks. You scrape clean a section with the edge of your stylus and begin again. The act is soothing. Mark, scrape, write anew. Around you, haggling rises and falls like waves. Somewhere, a flute plays, its notes winding between voices. An old trader pauses before you, his face lined deep from sun and years. He places a small trinket in your hand, a carved scarab of green stone. "For the one who sees all," he murmurs, before vanishing into the crowd. The scarab is cool in your palm, its surface polished smooth. You slip it into your pouch, uncertain whether it is a gift, a bribe, or merely a kindness. When at last the market winds down, you carry your tablet back to the overseer. He inspects the neat rows of numbers and nods, satisfied. The work has been invisible to most, but it holds weight greater than any pile of goods. You return through the fading market, lanterns flickering to life, voices softening, smoke drifting skyward. The scarab presses against your side as you walk, a silent reminder that even amid chaos, the scribe's hand quietly shapes the order of the world. The temple rises before you, its walls painted with gods that seem to watch as you approach. Incense drifts from tall braziers, sweet and heavy, mingling with the low hum of voices chanting within. Today, you step into the role of a temple servant, one of the countless hands that keep the divine machinery of Egypt turning. You are not a priest who speaks sacred words, but without your labor, the rituals could not unfold. Inside, shadows ripple across carved columns. Light filters down from narrow slits above, striking the smoke and making it glow. A priest gestures to you silently. You follow, carrying a jar of scented oil balanced carefully against your chest. The floor is cool beneath your sandals, polished smooth by centuries of feet. Each step echoes faintly, as if the stone itself remembers every prayer ever spoken here. You set the jar beside an altar. Gold gleams in the flicker of flames, and statues of the gods shimmer as though alive. The priest does not look at you, but his hand brushes the jar's rim approvingly before he lifts it. You bow slightly, unseen yet vital. Your duties carry you deeper. You sweep ashes from yesterday's offerings, the charred remains of bread and fowl. The task is dirty, the soot clinging to your skin, yet you treat it with reverence. Each grain of ash is a prayer already spent, and you clear the way for new ones. Later, you polish bronze vessels until your reflection shimmers faintly in them, distorted but real. The work is endless, repetitive, calming in its rhythm. Chanting swells as the main ritual begins. Priests lift their arms, voices weaving like threads. You carry trays of fresh bread, beer, and fruit, setting them carefully at the foot of the god's image. The statue towers above you, eyes inlaid with crystal, gaze eternal. For a heartbeat, you feel its weight upon you, not wood, not stone, but presence. Your skin prickles, and you bow again before withdrawing into shadow. Hours pass, the cycle repeating. Sweep, polish, carry, pour. You hardly notice the time, so steady is the flow. Yet in the quiet moments, you feel the temple breathing around you. The creak of wood, the crackle of lamps, the rustle of linen robes. It is as though you move inside a living body, each sound a heartbeat, each task a breath. As dusk approaches, the rituals conclude. Priests file away, leaving you and the others to tidy what remains. You stack vessels, wash cloths, extinguish lamps one by one. The temple cools, growing darker, quieter, until only the faint glow of the inner sanctuary lingers. Before you leave, you pause in the courtyard. The sky above is streaked with red, and the obelisks catch the last light, their tips blazing. You feel small, but not diminished. To serve here is to stand near the gods, if only in shadow. The wind carries the scent of incense still clinging to your clothes, and you realize it will follow you long after, a reminder that even the unseen servant's touch reaches the divine. The cool of the evening clings to the narrow street as you step toward the guard post. Tonight, your duty is not with brush or chisel, but with spear and shield. You are among the night watchmen, those who guard the gates, patrol the alleys, and keep the city breathing while most of Egypt sleeps. The torches sputter as you approach, the flames bending in the desert breeze. Shadows flicker against mud brick walls, stretching and shrinking with each gust. The captain hands you a wooden staff tipped with bronze. Its weight feels both solid and comforting in your hand. He nods once, then gestures toward the gates. The city beyond is hushed, the din of the market gone, the voices of priests silenced. All that remains is the soft shuffle of sandals, the distant bark of a dog, the occasional cry of a baby through a shuttered window. Your patrol begins at the outer walls. The stone blocks loom massive and cold, their surfaces rough beneath your fingertips as you trail your hand along them. Above, the stars blaze, more countless than grains of sand. The Nile glimmers faintly to the west, reflecting slivers of moonlight. You pause, listening, every sense sharpened. A rustle in the reeds, just a bird. A shadow moving along the path, only a cat. The city sleeps, but you remain alert, breathing with the night. At the gates, you trade brief words with fellow watchmen. One stamps his feet against the chill, another leans on his spear. A traveler approaches, cloaked and weary, leading a donkey laden with baskets. You demand his papers, voice steady, posture firm. The exchange is short, but in it you feel the weight of your role. A careless moment could mean a thief slipping through, a spy entering unseen. The traveler moves on, and you watch until his figure dissolves into the darkness. Later, you walk the inner alleys. The air smells of baking bread cooling on stones, of smoke dying in hearths. You pass homes where families sleep huddled, their dreams guarded by your steps. You pause at a tavern shuttered for the night, faint laughter still drifting through the cracks. At another corner you hear a scuffle, two drunk men snarling. You step forward, staff raised, voice commanding. They scatter like startled birds, leaving only silence behind. Hours stretch long in the dark, but you learn to read the city by sound and scent. A merchant's storeroom reeks of spices and oil. You check its doors, bolted tight. A granary hums faintly with the rustle of mice. You note it for the day guards. A temple stands silent, statues looming in shadow. You bow slightly, even here, before moving on. When the eastern horizon begins to pale, you feel the shift. The night exhales, and the city begins to stir. Roosters crow, dogs bark, and windows creak open. You return to the post, the torchlight paling against the dawn. The captain collects your staff, his eyes approving but unreadable. You are weary, your legs heavy, yet there is pride in your chest. As the sun edges over the walls, you look back once. The city glows with fresh light, safe for another day. Few will remember the watchmen, but their unseen vigilance holds the kingdom steady. You walk home through the waking streets, the world brightening with each step, knowing you carried the night alone. The day is already hot when you step into the courtyard of a wealthy household. Today, your duty is within walls not of temples or markets, but of kitchens, where endless work feeds the nobles who command Egypt's fortunes. The air carries the scent of roasting fowl, honeyed bread, and stewing lentils, so rich it makes your stomach tighten with hunger before you even begin. A cook waves you toward a stone basin filled with grain. Your first task is grinding. You kneel beside the slab, placing handfuls of barley upon it, then push a heavy stone across the surface. Back and forth, back and forth. The motion grates into your shoulders, the rhythm steady, endless. Fine flour gathers slowly, sticking to your fingers, dust rising into your nose. Your arms ache, but the pile grows, small mountains of pale powder ready for baking. Nearby, women knead dough, their fists sinking into the sticky mass, folding and stretching with practiced grace. Others tend clay ovens, glowing orange in the shadows, their mouths spitting heat into the courtyard. You carry baskets of wood, piling them high, the smoke stinging your eyes as the ovens roar to life. Flatbreads slide in and out, their surfaces blistering, golden, fragrant. Then comes the work of meat. A goose, freshly plucked, lies on a board, its pale skin dimpled. You are given a knife, its edge bright. The cook instructs you where to cut, through joints, along the breast, carefully separating sinew from bone. Your hands are soon slick with fat, your nostrils filled with the raw tang of flesh. The pieces are rubbed with coriander and cumin, then set to roast, the skin crisping as fat drips into the fire. Spices fill the air, cinnamon from distant lands, pepper sharp on your tongue, garlic crushed into paste. You grind them with a mortar, the pestle thudding rhythmically, as you release their scents. Each mixture is poured into stews of lentils and onions, turning the simple into the divine. Wine jars are uncorked, beer ladled into clay mugs, honey drizzled over fruit. The kitchen is chaos, yet every hand moves with purpose, each gesture part of a greater design. As the banquet nears, the household hums with urgency. Servants polish plates of bronze, set baskets of figs and pomegranates in order, arrange lilies in tall jars. You help carry trays into the great hall, where mats are spread and lamps burn bright. Nobles recline, their voices rich with laughter, their hands reaching eagerly for food. You stand back, unseen, watching as dishes you labored over vanish into their mouths within moments. Later, the scraps return. Bones gnawed clean, bowls empty, crumbs scattered. You gather them, dumping the remains into baskets for the dogs and pigs. The smell of grease clings to your clothes, the smoke to your hair. The nobles are sated, their voices softened with wine. Your belly still aches with hunger, but at last, in the quiet of the kitchen, you and the others share what little is left. Crusts of bread, a ladle of stew, a slice of fruit forgotten at the edge of a tray. The night settles, and the kitchen empties. The ovens cool, the smoke fades, the scent of spice lingers like a ghost. You sit in the shadows, exhausted, hands raw from grinding, arms trembling with weariness. Yet beneath it lies a strange pride. For though no noble will remember your name, they will sleep satisfied tonight because of your hidden labor. And tomorrow the rhythm will begin again. Grind, knead, roast, serve. An endless feast to sustain a kingdom. The desert air is still when you arrive at the quarry, a vast wound cut into the earth. The sun beats down relentlessly, its heat bouncing off the pale limestone until the entire world seems to shimmer. Today, your place is among the stone haulers, those who wrench blocks from the bedrock and drag them to feed the endless hunger of temples and tombs. The work is brutal, but without it, monuments would never rise. A foreman hands you a wooden mallet and a copper chisel. The tools are worn, their edges dented, but they are all you have. You kneel beside a seam in the rock, driving the chisel again and again into its surface. The sound is sharp, metallic, echoing across the quarry like 1,000 hammers striking in unison. Dust coats your skin, clinging to your sweat, filling your mouth with grit. Your arms burn with each blow, yet slowly, painfully, the stone begins to crack. When at last the block yields, ropes are looped around it, thick as your wrist. Dozens of men gather, shoulders straining, heels digging into the dust. You join them, pulling until your muscles scream, the block inching forward across wooden rollers greased with oil. The ground trembles beneath the weight. The ropes creak. Your chest heaves with every breath. Each step feels impossible, yet together you move the mountain. The foreman shouts encouragement, though his voice is ragged with exhaustion. Water carriers rush between the workers, clay jars sloshing. You gulp greedily, the water warm, tasting faintly of clay, yet more precious than gold beneath this sun. For a moment, relief cools your throat. Then the hauling resumes. As the block reaches the waiting sledge, you collapse beside it, chest rising and falling like a bellows. Others smear oil on the wooden runners, preparing for the long drag to the river. The sledge is massive, yet when the rope is passed to you again, you take it. Step by step, you drag it across the sand, chanting with the others to keep rhythm. The chant becomes a spell against despair, a song that holds your body upright even as it falters. By sunset, the block rests at the riverbank, ready to be ferried onward. The men lie scattered in the sand, their skin cracked, their limbs trembling. You share a crust of bread, gritty with dust, chewing slowly as the sky turns crimson. The river shimmers, promising rest, but the memory of the day's labor is carved deep into your body. Yet when you gaze at the stone, solid and eternal, you feel a strange pride. Someday it will stand as part of a temple wall or a pyramid face. People will marvel at its size, its smoothness, its permanence. None will think of the hands that bled to move it, but you will know. And perhaps the gods, too, will know. The stars emerge, faint at first, then bright. The quarry quiets, but you carry its weight in your bones as you walk back through the desert night. Your hands ache, your back stiffens, but in your heart lingers the echo of stone on copper, the chant of men pulling together, the sound of eternity being built one block at a time. The air within the workshop is thick with fragrance. It clings to your skin and seeps into your clothes, a blend of crushed flowers, sticky resins, and pungent oils. Today, you are no longer in the quarry's dust, but in the perfumer's domain, a chamber of jars, grinding stones, and simmering pots. Here, beauty and devotion are bottled in scents that linger far longer than the petals they came from. You are given a mortar of dark basalt, smooth from years of use. Into it you drop a handful of blue lotus petals, soft and fragile. The pestle grinds them into paste, releasing their sweet, almost intoxicating aroma. Oil is poured in, a base pressed from castor seeds, and slowly, carefully, you mix until flower and oil become one. This is the heart of perfume, the transformation of fleeting bloom into lasting essence. Nearby, another worker tends a small fire, its heat coaxing resin from frankincense and myrrh. The scent rises thick and sacred, curling into the air like whispers to the gods. You pause to breathe it in, dizzy with its richness. These fragrances are not for common folk. They are destined for priests in the temples, queens in their chambers, and the dead in their tombs. To smell such things is to touch the divine. The master perfumer demonstrates how to strain the oil through fine cloth, letting it drip into alabaster jars. You mimic his steady hands, though the oil slicks your fingers, leaving them sticky and glistening. He warns that balance is everything. Too much resin, and the perfume will be harsh. Too little, and it will fade too quickly. Every drop counts, every breath matters. At midday, a merchant arrives with baskets of spices, cinnamon bark, cardamom, and rare sandalwood brought from distant lands. Their arrival is met with reverence, for these are treasures more valuable than silver. You are tasked with shaving thin curls from the sandalwood, inhaling its warm, soothing scent as you do. The curls fall like golden ribbons, ready to be steeped into oil that will soothe bodies and anoint statues. The hours pass in rhythm. Grind, mix, strain, heat, and bottle. You lose yourself in the work, each step a ritual of patience. Your skin grows fragrant, as if you yourself are being transformed into incense. By evening, you carry amphorae sealed with wax, each filled with shimmering liquid that glows in the lamplight. They will be sent to temples, palaces, and tombs, where their scent will outlast lifetimes. As you wipe your hands clean, you think of the power in these small jars. A single drop can carry memories, summon reverence, stir desire. A single scent can make the dead seem alive again, can please the gods, can calm the restless heart. Though the labor is quiet, unseen, it shapes how Egypt breathes. You leave the workshop under a canopy of stars, your skin still carrying the sweetness of lotus and the spice of resin. Even in the cool night air, the fragrance clings, as though the gods themselves trail at your side. The river smells of tar, pitch, and fresh-cut wood. You stand on the banks of the Nile, where planks lie scattered like bones of some giant beast. Here, you are among the boat builders, the craftsmen who give shape to Egypt's lifeblood, its vessels that glide upon the eternal river. Without these boats, grain would not move, trade would not flourish, and temples would not rise. Your hands brush against cedar planks imported from Lebanon, their grain smooth, their scent sharp and resinous. Cedar is rare, costly, and reserved for the finest ships. More common boats are fashioned from acacia or sycamore wood, bound together with rope made of papyrus fiber. The master builder instructs you to smooth a beam with an adze, each stroke carving curls of wood that fall at your feet. The rhythm is steady, a heartbeat of labor echoing along the shore. Nearby, men heat pitch in clay pots, its thick blackness bubbling like tar. They smear it along seams to seal them tight against the Nile's water. The smell is pungent, sticky, clinging to your hair and clothes. You dip a bundle of reeds into the tar, pressing it into a gap between two boards, and the seam disappears under your touch. The boat is taking shape, plank by plank, rope by rope, sealed against the river's secrets. As the day grows hotter, the builders sing chants to keep time with their hammering. Pegs are driven in, ropes are tightened, and slowly a vessel rises from chaos into order. You see not just wood, but possibility. A fisherman's skiff, a merchant's barge, or a noble's pleasure craft lined with cushions and shade. Each boat is a promise, waiting to carry people, goods, or prayers along the Nile. A priest arrives with offerings, for this work is sacred too. The river is no mere body of water. It is a god, and every boat is a gift to its currents. Oil is poured, incense lit, and a small prayer is spoken before the boat touches water. You bow your head, feeling the solemnity settle over the noise of hammering and rope pulling. Finally, the boat is ready. Together, you and the crew push it toward the river. The wood groans, the ropes tighten, and then, suddenly, it floats. The water embraces it, rocking it gently as if welcoming an old friend. The builders cheer, clapping one another's backs, pride written in every smile. You step aboard, the planks steady beneath your feet, the Nile stretching wide around you. As the boat drifts, the river wind cools your skin. Reeds whisper along the banks, birds scatter into the dusk, and the world feels vast yet calm. You imagine the journeys this vessel will take, bearing jars of beer to market, carrying priests to ceremonies, or ferrying families to festivals across the river. Each voyage will add to Egypt's story, carried by the strength of your hands and the craft of your labor. The sun sinks, painting the Nile gold. You lean on the rail, watching the water shimmer as though it holds 1,000 secrets. In this moment, you understand. Boats are not merely tools. They are bridges between places, between people, between life and afterlife. You are part of that bridge, your work bound into the rhythm of a civilization. The boat glides forward, steady and sure, as if it has always belonged here. And for a moment, so do you. You have walked through the dusty streets and riverbanks of ancient Egypt, living many lives at once. As a scribe's assistant, you bent over rolls of papyrus, ink staining your fingers as you captured prayers and royal decrees. You stitched sandals from reeds and leather, crafted to carry both nobles and laborers alike across desert paths. In dim chambers, you worked as an embalmer's apprentice, learning to prepare the dead for journeys beyond the stars. You brewed beer in clay jars, the everyday drink that sustained peasants and pharaohs. You cut reeds in the marshes, fished by moonlight on the Nile, and shaped clay at the potter's wheel until it hardened into vessels of grain and oil. Temples became your workplace, where sweeping floors and polishing altars drew you closer to gods. In the blazing quarries, you chipped stone from the earth, knowing each block might someday stand in a pyramid's shadow. You inhaled the perfume of crushed flowers and resins, stirred soil with farmers who lived by the Nile's rhythm, and laughed as music and juggling filled feasts with color and sound. You patrolled tombs by night, mixing caution with wonder, guarding treasures meant for eternity. You tended wounds with honey and herbs, and in shipyards, you bent wood and rope into boats that skimmed across Egypt's lifeline. Each role showed you not pharaohs or generals, but the hidden hands that carried Egypt forward. The workers, apprentices, and craftsmen whose daily tasks became the foundation of an empire. In their rhythms of labor, quiet, patient, unending, you found a deeper pulse of history. Now, as the Nile darkens under a starlit sky, you rest. The sounds of chisels, looms, chants, and waves fade into one steady hum, soft enough to cradle you toward dreams. You have lived many lives tonight, and each of them has led you here, to stillness. The work is done. The boats float, the grain is stored, the temples shine. Sleep now as Egypt sleeps, under the endless river of stars.